What is up, guys? Iron Lord Kackis here. Thank you so much for stopping by, and today we're going to be showcasing 3 ridiculously powerful loadouts, one for each different class, to bring into Iron Banner. This isn't a place for dignity and using the non-meta. This is a place for grinding those W's, and that's exactly what we're going to help facilitate. And so, let's get started. But just before we do, if you want to use these real gamer loadouts and sweat, you want to be focused. So hit up Advanced GG Focus, code KHD for 10% off. Make the most of those real gamer hours, you know what I'm saying? Alright, now let's get started here with the Warlock. Remember, all 3 of these loadouts are going to be making usage of different synergies, different mods, different weapons sometimes, to just create loadouts that are unbelievably powerful and are, let's be honest, a little bit cheesy, but hey, sometimes you gotta get loused in the sauce and be part of that cheese. So, for the Warlock, this build is based around the Controverse Hold exotic gauntlets. Its exotic perk is Chaotic Exchanger. Resist incoming damage while charging your Void Grenade with Chaos Accelerant, Feed the Void, or Handheld Supernova. Charged Void Grenades return a random amount of grenade energy on hit. And we're combining that with the middle tree for the Voidwalker subclass for Handheld Supernova. So what this is going to let you do is every time you have a fully charged grenade, you can hold the grenade button and you'll shoot out the supernova attack. It does a colossal amount of damage, and the Controverse holds are going to, well, firstly give you a shield while you're doing that. So otherwise, if you're holding your grenade ready to throw out the supernova, someone comes around a corner with a shotgun, they shoot you, that could be the end of you. But with the Controverse holds, you're gonna resist that shot most of the time because you've got a crazy overshield, and then you can just yoink them with your supernova. The supernova is incredibly powerful, and it gives you grenade energy back so you can do it again. And to further buff this loadout, what we're going to do is equip as many discipline mods as we can. Each one is going to increase the recharge rate of your grenades, and as you can see, I have 94 discipline and my grenades recharge in just over 30 seconds. So I can handheld supernova quite a bit, especially if I can get a kill and I'm getting 1/3 or half of my grenade energy back from the Controverse holds. In addition to this, if you want to go even further into this build, you can, for grenades, use a weapon that has the Demolitionist perk. Like you can see here, getting a kill with that weapon is going to even further increase your grenade recharge, but I don't think that's really necessary. Now here's the thing, Handheld Supernova still actually counts as a grenade, so we're also going to be using the Oppressive Darkness mod from the seasonal artifact. This applies a weaken effect to enemies hit with your grenade. So, if you don't kill an enemy, if they're in a super for example, you'll still apply that weaken effect, and any nearby allies will get to take great advantage of that by doing more damage to that enemy. And frankly, it doesn't even need to be your allies. You can use your supernova, not kill an enemy, weaken it, and then finish them off yourself with your guns. And speaking of guns, because our loadout is revolving around handheld supernova and that kind of exists on its own, you don't need to have a specific weapons loadout for this build. So you can use whatever weapons you like the most. If you like pulse rifles, throw on a pulse rifle. If you like shotguns, throw on a shotgun, fusion rifle, whatever you want to use. I will say, however, because handheld supernova is so good up close, I think you can make the argument that it can replace the use of a shotgun. You don't need to run a shotgun because when an enemy is in shotgun range, you handheld supernova them. So you can run something like a sniper rifle, a fusion rifle, something that excels at those further ranges. Now, moving on from there, we have the Titan, and for this one, I gotta be honest with you, if you have a one-eyed mask, put it on. There's a reason this thing is feared, hated, and memed so much. It is so incredibly powerful, arguably overpowered. Well, it is overpowered. Alright, now its main perk here, its exotic perk is Vengeance. Marks the enemy that dares to damage you, track down and destroy your enemy for increased damage and overshield. So, Basically, if you can win a 1v1, this thing makes the next fight and the next fight and the next fight way, way easier. You're coming into those fights with an overshield, you're going to be doing more damage. It is truly absurd. You can track enemies behind walls, you know when they're going to peek out. It's absurd. So if you have one, definitely use it. You can use it with this build for sure. And what we're doing here is we're combining it with the seasonal mod Thundercoil. Grants bonus damage for all arc melee abilities and refunds super energy on finisher final blows. So that, combined with the bottom tree for the Striker Titan, is going to give you just a bunch of ridiculously synergistic perks. The melee ability is Frontal Assault. Strike an enemy with this melee ability to reload your weapon and increase both your weapon stability and weapon damage. And it's actually a pretty significant damage increase. Then we have the other perk, Knockout. Critically wounding an enemy or breaking their shields increase your melee range and damage. So, with Knockout and Thundercoil, your melee will turn into a one-hit kill melee. So you can just run around bopping people, just melee, melee, melee. I've seen some ridiculous melee streaks. But you don't need to necessarily rely on that. You can just have that in your back pocket as an incredibly powerful combo, and then just run around one-eyed masking people. If you do want to really synergize this build around its melee capabilities, however, obviously put on as many strength mods as you can for your armor. If you don't have the one-eyed mask, or you just don't want to use it and create a much more synergistic build, you can use the Synthoceps Exotic Gauntlets. The exotic perk is Biotic Enhancements. Increased melee lunge range, improved melee and super damage when you're surrounded. So that synergizes super well with Bottom Tree Striker and the Thundercoil mod. In fact, it does make for a ridiculous build. It's a little bit more specialized, however, in getting close and throwing fists. And if you really want to go hard, you can use the Monte Carlo exotic auto rifle as well, with its intrinsic perk Monte Carlo method. Dealing damage with this weapon reduces your melee cooldown and grants a chance to fully recharge your melee ability with each kill. So that's going to keep your melee up like all the time, but I don't think a 600 RPM auto rifle is really worth it. You're going to have your melee up often enough, and it's going to work out, very often without it. And then you can just use some other phenomenal, much more powerful meta weapons with this build. This build does go very well with shotguns, because if you can trigger Frontal Assault, increasing damage by shotgun melee and killing someone, then your next shotgun shot is going to just be ridiculous and map people. But we've got to move on from there to the Hunter, and this build is based around the exotic Wormhusk Crown Helmet. Its exotic perk is Burning Souls. Dodging gives a small health and shield bump. That doesn't sound like much, but when you combine it with certain things, it becomes much, let's just say. So, firstly, obviously this is built around dodging all the time, so putting on as many Paragon mods as possible to increase your class ability regeneration is very, very useful. And then what we're doing is we're using the Arc Battery seasonal mod ×2. Yes, you can actually double up on some of these seasonal mods, and because Arc Battery costs 5, it works out perfectly to 5 + 5 = 10 for a fully masterworked piece of gear, as you can see. Now, you'll notice that if you try to put on 2, you won't be able to. All you gotta do is put on 1, equip something else, as you can see, and then put on 1 more when it's unequipped. And there you go, you're gonna have 2 of the mod that says grants overshield and reduced cooldown during activation for all Arc class abilities. Well, obviously that means we do need to have an Arc subclass being equipped. Specifically, we're the Arc Strider, and we're going for the bottom tree here. Mainly, we've got the perk Focused Breathing. Sprint recharges your dodge ability, increased maximum sprint speed. So that's just going to get us our dodge more often. That's going to make it so that when we dodge, we're going to get a massive double Arc Battery overshield, and more of an overshield from Wormhusk, and a little bit of a health bump from Wormhusk too. So it means that during a gunfight, or potentially leading into a gunfight, if you dodge, you get this massive overshield and health bump, letting you win so much more often. Again, for the weapons, you can pretty much use whatever you want. However, having something that does a lot of damage per shot, like a great hand cannon, like the Rose here, and then being able to go like headshot, headshot, and if you're kind of taking too much damage, you can dodge in the middle of that fight, they're gonna miss, or even if they hit you, it won't matter. You've got the overshield, and then you can come back at them with the last shot to finish them off. But it also goes quite well with shotguns, because you can shotgun and then dodge immediately to avoid the enemy's shotgun melee, because if they melee you with your overshield, you'll survive. It's pretty ridiculous, but frankly about just as ridiculous as the other two builds we went over earlier. So those are just 3 incredibly powerful builds you can bring into Iron Banner and do a lot better and get a lot more wins, grind those tokens, get those enhanced mods. That's what we're here for. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, found it informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at @RickKackis. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.